episode of Finally Motivated. Today, I'm very excited for our special guest today because this man here is a friend, someone that I can speak with about entrepreneurship because he's also a podcast host.
Hey.
He is an entrepreneur. His podcast is called the Contagious Thoughts Podcast.
Shout out.
He is a real estate investor. He's an action taker, a family man, and just a all-around good guy to hang out with. And I think that there's a lot that we can learn from just talking about his journey as an entrepreneur. So I'm really excited to have him here. Oh, also, because the list goes on, he's also the founder of a media production company.
Hey.
This guy is such an artist. He loves photography, videography, and helping you create your vision to an aesthetically pleasing format.
Sure.
So please help me welcome Darwin Hemans.
Hey, thank you, man. What a great welcome, great intro.
It better be, right?
I want to just carry you around on my shoulder and just introduce me to people. Just
let me know.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me, man. I'm honored to be here.
Of course. Yeah. We've talked about this for a bit now.
Way too long. Yeah.
And I think at the time I didn't have the podcast, but I was supposed to go back on yours.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And then we got busy.
Life happened. Life happened. But it's coming. Yeah. Believe me, it's coming. Before we drop season 2 for the Contagious Thoughts podcast, we're going to record our episode and you will be on it. Because the last time it was audio only. Yeah. People didn't get to see your face. We want to see your face this time. So
I'm looking forward to it, man. So I'm very curious about, how did you get here? How did Darwin become Darwin that we know today?
I really believe that we're shaped by our experiences, all of us. And although there's some experiences and things that I've overcome and things that I've had to go through, I am grateful for them, even though they were painful at the time. And some of them I definitely would not want to relive or go through again. But I'm also grateful for them because I know that it's shaped me in some way. I've learned something from it. I've taken something from it. Even things that I'm going through right now, that I'm in right now, that I'm in the trenches with, that I'm experiencing the struggle and the pain of it right now. Even that, I know somewhere in me knows that there's a reason why I'm going through this. There's something I'm meant to learn from it. Don't let it be like a wasted opportunity where you just put your head down and get through it, but there's no reflection or introspection to reflect on what could I be meant to learn from this or take away from this, or if you're religious or spiritual, what could God be trying to teach me or show me through this? Or if you're not religious or spiritual, what could life or the universe be trying to teach me or expose me to from this?
So you feel like there's a big need for introspection throughout the journey when things are difficult and when things are challenging or maybe not as what you expect. Why do you think that that's important?
I think that I have to say I am just naturally an introspective person, and I do respect that not everybody is that way. I'm not really into forcing people to be what they're not naturally or whatever, but I do think that regardless to what we are naturally, there are things that we can learn from people who are like us and not like us, and
so even if they not like us, you can still learn.
I was trying to go past that comment. I was like, ooh, this is such an opportunity to crack a joke right now. Even when they're not like us, we can still learn something from them. Yeah. And I do, to answer your question, I do believe that there is a benefit to doing that. I'm not going to call it like some people have their own way of going through an experience that works for them, and I want to leave space for that. But I know for me, when I'm in something that's really challenging, and an experience that's really challenging, sometimes it's like I have to put my head down and focus on the next step and focus on getting through it. And sometimes I can't. We're talking about this earlier. If I can't exhale and be like, ooh, it's done. Now let me look back and process what I just went through, what just happened to me, or what roller coaster ride I just got off of, so to speak. Even if I can't do that because I'm still in the thing, I think there's still room for some level of what's going on here. Is there anything I'm supposed to be learning from this experience, or what have I learned so far? What would I never do again? What decision would I not make, or what decision would I make differently the next time around? All these are things that can be processed while the challenge, and not just after the challenge.
Do you feel like your journey so far as an entrepreneur has been challenging?
It's been challenging. It is romanticized to some degree. Entrepreneurship, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that will make you feel like if you're not an entrepreneur, like you're doing something wrong. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be. But entrepreneurship is, I think most of us know this, it's not for everybody.
Sure.
And if it's not for you, don't do it. Because one, why just not be true to yourself? And then why waste a bunch of time, money, and energy pouring into something that is not really how you want to go about life? But to answer your question directly, it's definitely been challenging. And I'm also not going to sit up here and pretend that I'm like some multimillionaire who's made it big. No, I'm very much so in the middle of my own journey and figuring things out. And it has not been easy, but it's a part of who I am. So there's no way I'm going to just stop or give up.
You're just going to keep going. Can you think of when the spark first came on?
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
So my sister has been, her and I are very close, older sister. She's been an entrepreneur. She stopped going to college because she was like, hey, like, this is not really for me. And she just built her own business. She's built several businesses, actually, profitable and successful businesses, and to where she's feeding her family solely from her businesses, right? And so saw that, and I went to school. I did engineering in school and graduated, and I've worked W-2 jobs. I still work a W-2 job, right? And the current job I have is great, but I always looked at my sister and her journey and said, that's not really for me though. That whole full-time entrepreneurship thing, it's not really for me. I would rather have my main job and then just have a side hustle that brings in extra money on the side. Until I came across a job and a couple of bosses who just treated me real foul. And it's not the company I work for right now. The company I work for right now is phenomenal. But it's a previous company, and that I won't name, even though it's tempting, but I won't name. But I went through some challenges there where I had to take a step back and think, like, is this really what I want from my life? To not be in control of my destiny, to have somebody else telling me how I need to go about taking care of my family. And there were decisions that the company was making for me and about me specifically that put my family in a bad position. And it started impacting my wife and my kids. And that was a point where I was like, okay, you get to dictate what happens to me professionally to some degree because I work for you. But when it comes to my family, that's where I draw the line. And at that time, it felt like all of the things that inspired me, like, kind of came rushing in, and it all kind of came together in this like perfect union of energy that pushed me into being like, wait, I have all these ideas. Why don't I just like do something about it to actually make money on the side to where it could become not just money on the side, but the main thing. And that's where my wife and I applied for our first LLC and started taking some action towards generating revenue. And it started out as like an investment company that was supposed to be focused on real estate. But before real estate, it was like, man, just anything that we could just make a profit. We just have an idea. It's like, okay, well, we could do Turo, we could do hire a car, we could we could do, this part of real estate. Like, we don't have to get right into commercial real estate. We could do wholesaling. We could do, so it started out just how can we just bring profit and create a revenue stream that could become a mainstream to where we're not going to need the W-2 job anymore. So that was kind of the motivation behind it. It's just not needing W-2 income, it being optional.
So it kind of came from a place of a pain that you wanted to
Yeah.
reduce, eliminate, and create an option for yourself, an opportunity
Yeah.
for yourself, and create more control.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it was a desire for freedom for us
Yeah.
specifically. Definitely a desire for freedom, financial freedom that could lead to career freedom, just overall like life freedom, like ability to move through life in a way that was more true to us. If we wanted to travel, we wanted to do whatever we wanted to do, we can do that because the finances weren't restricting us.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, before that, how did you look at the world? Did you look at the world as not like from an entrepreneurial a lens in your own words in your own way, or did because I know you mentioned that you wanted to do the engineering,
Yeah.
but before that, did you have any ideas for entrepreneurial ventures?
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, so I was obsessed with cars. That's actually why I got into mechanical engineering. I wanted to design cars. And I would look at like Carl Benz, Ferdinand Porsche. Like these are all people where even if you don't know who those people are, as soon as I say their name, you know who they are.
Yeah,
Because you know Carl Benz is probably the creator
probably,
of
yeah,
Mercedes Benz,
yeah.
right?
It's a good guess,
You
right?
know, Ferdinand Porsche probably created Porsche, right? So I wanted to have my own car brand, you know, kind of like what
Really?
Elon Musk did. I wanted to have my own, you know,
Driving around the Musk.
yeah, yeah. Except it would have like my name, you know,
Yeah,
like I
he
had
didn't
all
use
kind of
his
different
name, but yeah.
designs. It was like you know, my middle name would be like the name of the car brand and all this stuff. And so I had dreams of that, man. I had dreams of having a free life where like money wasn't a constraint,
Yeah.
and I got to just like live free. And as a kid, I would draw like, you know, mansions with like helicopters and like things that like, you know, all these cars. I was such I just have always loved cars, you know, like a 10-car garage with all of my favorite cars in there. And like, you know, it wasn't about just like materialistic gain, you know, it was about like freedom for me. It was about having the ability to do what I wanted with life because money wasn't a constraint,
Yeah.
you know? So, that was probably my first, like looking at the world and being like, I can create something. Like I can like have something that's in my mind. Have something in my mind and take an action that can make that thing into a reality. And that thing that I created can actually benefit my life. It can actually like serve me and give me freedom and happiness and fulfillment and enjoyment, you know?
Yeah. What do you think influenced that spirit for you?
I'm not sure. I mean, it's a good question. I've always thought that it was like ambition. I've also thought that like there's times in my life where because of different things I've felt restricted or, you know, shackled, if you will. And so freedom became a really important core value to me because of those experiences. And then you pair that with like just me being a very ambitious person, like wanting to make something of myself. And, you know, there is definitely a bit of like wanting to prove myself to myself, like almost like wanting to prove my own value to myself. Like I want to do something. I want to accomplish something that is dope because then I'm gonna look at myself and be like, man, I feel dope. Like I feel like I did something, I accomplished something. And, through that, I could feel a sense of like value, a sense of self-worth. And it's proving that to myself, but also probably a bit of proving that to the world and some of the people around me as well, you know, which, you know, my wife is a therapist, so I'm not like unaware of all of the implications of the things I'm saying. Like I'm very aware of that. Like I have issues. I know I have issues, but it's, you know, this is me. This is what it is.
We're all just people going through experiences and figuring it out along the way.
Facts. Facts.
The issues, that's going to be consistent with all of us because we're just figuring it out along as we move, you know?
Yeah.
How have you felt that we know that entrepreneurship is tough and it can be very discouraging at times.
Facts.
What keeps you going?
Yeah. I think, I mean, for me, that desire for freedom hasn't, like, that's like a flame inside of me that hasn't been snuffed out. And I think that for me, I just know that it's possible. Like, nobody can tell me that it's not. Because when you make your first dollar in entrepreneurship, that means that you can make two.
Yeah.
And like, what's the difference between $2 and $2 million? They're all dollars. There's just more of them. And there was some input that is going into this equation or this formula, and there's an output. If you have figured out what input you need to do to figure out how to get $1 as your output, then that just means that like you now need to figure out what input do you now need to figure out how to get the 2 million or 200,000 or 2,000, whatever the number is that you're trying to obtain, you know, that represents some level of accomplishment for you or some level of freedom. It's like, okay, I have to figure out the input. But it's like when you know, they say when you're at the beach and you have a cut, you shouldn't get in the water, because like just one drop of blood, like a shark can sense that or smell that from like, you know, whatever, however many miles or whatever feet away, right? And so like when you make that $1, it's like, ooh, I can taste it, I can feel it, like now I know it's real.
It's validated.
Yeah. And so it's like that shark tastes that blood and it wants more now. It's like, you know, and
you
so
can't
like,
tell it that there's no blood.
you can't
there.
tell there's no blood.
There's no opportunity.
Yeah. And it's not a matter of like, it's not a thing of like greed or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like what, like everyone has to tap into their why ultimately, you know. If you know, does greed exist? Of course. Do we have to watch out for it? Sure. But like, all of us have bills, right? All of us have like dreams and goals and desires, and most of these things cost money. And so whatever that why is, like tap into that and let that fuel you, let that drive you, let that move you forward and get you through the tough times too, you know.
I love that you say that, because as an entrepreneur, I hear that all the time. Find your why and make sure that you are constantly reminding yourself of your why.
Sure.
So that it can keep you going. And I found that I really took that assignment seriously. And I never stopped with that assignment.
Okay.
I just kept going deeper and deeper about my why and why I even want that why. And and why do I want to choose this way to get to that why? And why am I who I am?
Yeah.
I took the assignment so seriously.
Wow, yeah. It's true introspection right there.
And then why does another entrepreneur have their why? And why did they choose this vehicle or this professional role to get to that destination? And why did you choose that? And that was the beginning of me creating the personality assessment for entrepreneurs.
Just took that today.
You recently took it. I'm so excited.
It's dope.
Because I was so curious.
Yeah, I can't explain to y'all why I think it's dope, but I'm not gonna throw off the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So, I mentioned that because as I was doing some research with building the personality quiz, I realized that we're not motivated by the same things.
Yeah,
and it's not black and white why you don't think why I'm not motivated by the same thing you are, but it does have to do with your background, your experiences, the different challenges you've overcome, your DNA. Like, it's so many different things, but at the core, we look at different tasks and ventures differently. I may be motivated to impress myself and impress others and satisfy my ego and create strategies that I think can put different pieces of the vision together, and I can be motivated by being able to put those strategies together. And when you took the assessment, I looked at the way that you hustle. You go out and you take action.
Yeah.
And I see the evidence of your action, or the evidence of your hustle, but I didn't know the why behind the hustle.
Yeah.
And how you formulated your perspective on it to gain the confidence to take the action, or is the action because you want to gain confidence? And it all gets really intricate.
Interesting.
And the personality assessment was, I think, a big revelation for me in understanding what I already knew about you.
Yeah.
But it's telling me the why.
Yeah.
A bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you are an artist.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
So
big time. Yeah.
Before we get a little bit deeper into that, and like the value behind it, and the value behind it, and how it can help just being more aware of yourself, I want you to tell me a little bit about your experience with the assessment. Well, what your expectations were going in, and how it changed. And
so, I mean, anything that Pekens is doing, I know, is gonna be well done, and like,
thank you.
It's gonna be thought through. Like, he's not just gonna like slap something together and have no thought or passion or intention behind it. Like, even the logo that we're looking at, you know, like this podcast, the purpose of the podcast, like, he's not stumbling over his words when you ask him, what's the why? What's the goal of this podcast? He knows what it is because he's thought about it. He's put intention behind it. So I expect it to be thorough, but I've taken a lot of different personality, assessments, temperament assessments, and these are all assessments that are funded by, companies that are large, established companies. And so I wasn't expecting it to be anything different from those, but it actually was. And I can explain that in a little bit, but I overthink these things like crazy. So it took me way longer than the average person to take this assessment because I'm like just straight up overthinking all the answers. But it was cool to see the results validate what I knew about myself, but not just that, like the direction and I want to say like the turn that my life has taken once I got into my 30s, and why I took that direction, why I started a media company, and the podcast, all that. And it's like you mentioned, like, I'm an artist, like I'm a creative, right? And I believe that we're all creators. But some of us tap into our creativity and have more of a desire and maybe a passion and intention behind creating, and we get a lot of enjoyment out of it, and it's a central reason or purpose for our existence. And that's what I would say is the difference between like someone who's a creative and maybe someone who is like maybe not as tapped into like that creative side of them, or maybe doesn't enjoy that kind of work as much as other kinds of work. Like, and so for me, it's confusing for people because like I went to school for engineering and they just see that like, in college I had like 5 jobs, and they see like, even I have my W-2 job,
different
and I always
identities.
have like, but I have all these side hustles, and they're like, oh, okay, like he's a hard worker, he's a hustler, and he's analytical and whatnot, but they don't see like, oh, he's an artist or he's a creative. They don't see that. But what that assessment was displaying, it was just like a reflection or a display of reality, which I think is, a testament to the work that you put into the assessment. But I see my life and opportunities as like a canvas. And so if I purchase a property, like, and as part of a real estate investment, for some people, they're looking at that like just through like the numbers and the analytics, the P&L, the
You're motivated
you
by
know,
something different.
yeah. And I'm very much so motivated by money. But like for me, it's an opportunity for me to create something. So this property or this whatever it is, it's a canvas that I get to decide like what size paintbrush I'm gonna use, what strokes I'm gonna create, what colors I'm gonna use, what I'm gonna create with this property. And part of what I'm getting to create is an opportunity at freedom.
Mm.
And so like the money that's coming from this property or from this opportunity, from this investment, I'm getting to design and create an opportunity that's going to give me freedom.
Yeah.
Right. And through that process, I also get to use different sides of me. I get to use, like, I like interior design, I enjoy like strategy, I enjoy, like, there's different things that I enjoy, and I get to be creative with like how I go about building that particular property as well.
Yeah.
So it's a if y'all listen to like Kendrick Lamar, people always talk about, his double and triple entendres. This whole concept of like an opportunity is like my blank canvas.
Yeah.
It's like a double and triple entendre. It's a canvas. That canvas represents like different things. It's a canvas in different ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that is why me being an artist, as was one of my leading results.
Yeah.
I was like
Big
70%. Yeah, 70%, even more than like the builder, and then like the hustler,
And the things that people see.
The people that
but
people
this is
see.
from your heart.
Right. Yeah.
That's
there you
what
go.
people like. Some people
Notice
might
he
not
pointed
see
at
it.
the heart in the middle of the logo. Hey.
Yeah, because that's really what I want every entrepreneur to see.
Yeah.
Like, remove all the layers and the things that people tell you should be and all of that, and let's look at what's left and what is your heart telling you.
Yeah.
Because a business can be one thing to somebody and can be a completely different thing and a whole life-changing, fulfilling thing to someone else.
Right.
And I want everyone to finally feel motivated to follow their hearts and do something that aligns with their strengths. And when I saw that you scored very high as an artist, I wasn't necessarily surprised with that, because it made sense.
Like, you've seen it.
Yeah,
but you weren't expecting it, but you've seen it before. You've seen it.
But I didn't think it would be so much of it.
Yeah.
And that was very, very, very cool to see. That was very cool to see.
Yeah, it's a very like core driving factor in everything I do. And it's also like, I've tried to be like the technical guru, right? Whether it be with engineering or with other things. And although I am technical and I have the capability to understand technical things, I am very analytical. I've never been like the technical expert in the room. That's just never been like my strength. But like I spent my entire like 20s trying to be that guy.
Yeah.
And it just never worked. And it just led to a lot of discouragement and frustration, and then like self-doubt. 'Cause I'm like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I like get to that level that these people are at? And part of it is like, it's time. These people have been doing the same thing for like decades, and now they are the expert. But then what happens when you run into somebody who's like around the same age or not that far ahead of you in age, and that is their strength? Like, they are that technical expert, that technical guru. And for some reason, I wanted that. Like, I wanted to feel like almost like validated, like, man, like, I'm super intelligent and smart, I'm an expert with this thing. Like, I wanted that. And I had to come to a place of realizing that that's just not me. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to become extremely proficient in something. Like, I have, and I will continue to, right? Like, but like, I had to accept what I was and what I wasn't. And it actually led to me making a career change from super like engineering, technically focused jobs to sales. And I realized that like I was way better with like strategy and conversation and relationship than I was with like being a technical expert. And so all of that is just to say that it's all a journey of like finding who we really are. Like not just what people see or what people tell you your strengths are or what your strengths should be, but it's like, well, what's driving that? Like that assessment, it was focused on the why.
Yeah.
It was focused on like, who are you at your core? Yeah, you're a hustler. She's a hustler. He's a hustler. But what's driving you guys? And what's driving you guys to be such action takers might all be different.
Yeah.
It might all be very different. Yeah.
We discovered with you do have some hustler in you,
Yeah. Facts.
but you're motivated. Like you take action because you have a unique combination of I can create I can create the art. I can create
Like design.
the
and,
design.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll create the design.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and build the system around it, a system that can support this for a
Right.
business.
Right.
I will then create a strategy to implement
Yeah.
this thing that I have. I have the background and experience to be able to do a deep dive because
Yeah.
you got a little bit of expert in you, whether it's your core or
Yeah.
something that's been learned and you've
Sure.
been used to
Sure.
pursuing being an expert. You have that in you,
Yeah.
and it's other people will see all of that stuff around it.
Yeah.
So what was that like, changing your whole identity
Yeah.
from I'm studying engineering and now I'm going to do something completely different,
Yeah.
no matter what people say?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that on one hand, it's scary in a sense because when you're taking a path that like your peers are not taking, or maybe your parents or people around you weren't expecting you to take, there's always like, well, what if I what if I fall on my face and look like a fool, It's like, what if I just look stupid, or what if this doesn't go well? And then it's like, dang, like you done messed up a good thing, man. You had a good path going and you done messed it up,
So much pressure, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and it's pressure that people might put on you, and I think it's pressure that we put on ourselves too.
For sure, because we also don't know.
Yeah, we don't know
what the outcome's gonna be,
and I think we also, I don't know. It's like we read the world around us, and we develop these like false like standards inside of our minds of like where we need to be by a certain time, or like what things we need to achieve in order to be enough, or but these are all just like, you're looking at other people who are also figuring it out and then using them as the measurement stick, and it's like, that's their life. You have your own life.
And oftentimes you don't even want their lives.
Yeah.
But we listen to their feedback as if they know which way we should move.
And
pivot.
people, a lot of them are miserable, and they're not even like not only do they not have the life that you might want, but they might not even be happy with what they're doing.
Yeah.
They might not even, they might be like, man, I go home every night, I lay my head on the pillow, and I'm thinking like, why do I feel so unhappy? Why do I feel so unfulfilled? Like, and maybe that person is just living up to some standard that their parents set, or that some part of society set, or whatever. And so then you're using them as a measurement stick, not even knowing the full picture. And I think that's why, like, even though it sounds cliche, it's so important, like, for us to just be on a lifelong journey of just finding ourselves, and so there was that aspect of like pressure. But then on the flip side, it was also very liberating as well. Like, it was very freeing for me to be like, wow, like, I feel like I'm coming into myself. Like, I feel like I'm really coming into like who I really am. Yeah. And it's not just me following like what I think I should be doing, or who I think I should be. It's like, this feels like this is really me. Yeah. This is who I am. And it's not like I just became a different person. It's like, nah, this is who I've always been, but I'm just uncovering it, or I'm peeling the layers back like an onion to get to the core of like who I really am, you know?
What did that process look like? Because
Yeah.
I know it didn't happen overnight.
No. Honestly, like, and I don't, you know, whatever people believe as far as like God or like the universe or you know, whatever people believe is up to them. But like for me, like I felt like from my vantage point, it can look very like accidental or like a coincidental, where you just like stumble into these situations that teach you things about yourself, or you run into a person who believes in you. Like I ran into a boss who like a few companies ago, who was like, hey, look, if you want to go the technical route and become, you know, be the engineer's engineer, hey, that's cool. He's like, but eventually you're gonna hit a ceiling. He was like, if you want to actually make money, he was like, you should take your experience and expertise and whatever and background, go towards sales. He's like, you want to do that? I can train you. He's like, if you don't want to do that, I can't really help you much. I don't know why you're here if you don't want to, you know what I mean? He basically was like, it was a nice way of him saying like, come into sales. If you don't want to do sales, like this is not really the job for you. Like, you know, and so he saw something in me that I didn't really see in myself. And then he trained me and he believed in me. He was tough on me. He was a tough boss. Shout out to P. Jacobs. He was a tough boss, but he believed in me. And then he was willing to put his money where his mouth is. He was willing to pay me when I did a good job, willing to reward me. And so then from there, that changed the trajectory of my career. And I started to move in that direction. And that's from like a W-2 perspective. But that translates really well into entrepreneurship because, as you know, entrepreneurship is just sales and understanding like a sales process, understanding like how to have a conversation with somebody that's a genuine conversation and not like a no hate on like car salesmen, but
manipulating.
Like we all had the experience like the sleazy like car salesman that tries to manipulate
you do something that you don't
really want, but actually like treating sales as something where like you're meeting a need. You have something, a product or a service, something to offer society, and it's your job to find the people. Like, you know that people need it, but it's your job to find the people who need it and then help them to see the value, right? And then like you are not happy because you get a paying customer who you get to actually benefit and help, and the person is happy that they found what they were looking for and what they needed, right? Whatever that thing is. And so that is like entrepreneurship in a nutshell. There's many nutshells we can put entrepreneurship into, but that's one of them, you know? And so that translated not just like in my professional career, but as an entrepreneur as well, very, 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 very well. And so that's a little bit of like how that process like initiated or started for me, where I started to pivot, you know, and that's not even getting into like just finding myself as a creative, which didn't really happen until like my 30s, you know.
Wow. And I do want to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, sure, man.
Before that, I want to mention, well, before we get into that, I want to remind everyone to subscribe if you're enjoying this conversation.
Subscribe right now. Like hit the button. Like on your phone, take it out your pocket. If you're walking or you're doing something, if you're driving, pull over. Take out your phone, click the bell, click the button, all right? And then make sure you hit the like button. Like it, just like it. And then leave a comment, even if your comment just says, thank you. Just leave a comment, because all that stuff, as you know, and you hear every YouTuber, everybody says it, like, and this is not just on YouTube, it's on Spotify and all. So leave a review too. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, leave a review and then rate it 5 stars. Last thing I'll say on this, sorry to take over, but last thing I'll say on this is, if you're not gonna leave 5 stars, if you're gonna leave 1 star, just don't leave it at all. Just don't leave it. Just keep it moving. All right. But if you enjoyed it, just leave 5 stars. Rate it well, rate it high, so that more people can find out about this podcast. If you enjoyed it, chances are somebody else is going to find some enjoyment too. So share the love. Share the love.
Wow, yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. I don't think I have anything else to add. We can just move on. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, man.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so now, as an artist, this is a very special type. I am also an artist.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yes, you are.
I'm also
Yeah.
I'm also an artist, and with the artist, you are motivated by being able to capture an emotion and package it in a way that can be appreciated by other people because you've created some structure around this artwork that can be understood. Without the structure, it's chaos.
Mm,
But when you have it within canvas, it's now art.
that's
It's
true.
something that can be easily digested
That's
by
real.
someone else.
That's real.
And internally, you're motivated by being able to package that emotion, and you're motivated externally by being able to share that same emotion that you felt
Yeah.
with someone else.
Somebody else.
And then when they feel it, you're like, did you feel it?
Yeah.
Did you feel
Right,
what I
right,
felt?
right. Yeah.
That's why, like,
That's
if
real.
I was a painter, I would go to the gallery
Yeah.
and watch people
React to you.
react to it.
Yeah.
That's gonna
real.
motivate me to
That's
do it
real.
again.
That's real.
If I am a musician, I'm going to embrace the feeling when I'm on the stage of people saying, "Whoo, that's fire."
And feeling, you get to witness them like feeling your music.
There's not a worse feeling when you're an artist and you're performing and the crowd is dead.
Yeah, they don't
You
feel
will
it.
not be
They
motivated
don't feel it.
to finish your
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
And I
That's
I
real.
I've there's good things about it. I mean, it's all good, but there are also things where I've had to apply restraints as an artist. There's restraints for every single entrepreneur type, and that's also within my book, The EntreMOTIV Compass. If you
Hey.
take the free personality assessment, you'll have the opportunity to purchase the book EntreMOTIV Compass, which it's a book about you. It goes into in depths about why you do what you do, how to maximize your strengths and use it as a superpower as an entrepreneur, and how you can leverage the strengths of others. So you don't have to be different. You just have to be more of who you are and find the people that are different from you so you can make intentional progress towards make optimizations towards an ideal vision. And I want to talk a little bit about your creative side. And I want you to brag a little bit, because here's what I mean. Because you had mentioned earlier, what did you say? You said I can't remember exactly what it was, but I want you to talk a little bit about what sort of creative ventures light you up the most.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I don't know. It when I was taking the assessment, I remember I kept on seeing questions about like or answers to like options in the questions to the thing, you know, the main questions about like helping other people and all, and I remember like whenever I would not choose that, I would be like, man, I feel so selfish because I feel like this is all about me. Like I just like you know, I was like,
You're
man,
almost
like
judging yourself like an audience.
yeah, I'm judging myself. I'm like, man, shouldn't I be more like Mother Teresa or like Martin Luther King or like you know,
selfish.
yeah, you selfish. It's like man, like, and I remember like stopping and talking to Pekens and being like, yo, like I don't, you know, he's like, hey, just be yourself, you know, just don't judge yourself. And so I had to keep that in mind. Hey, don't judge yourself because like whatever your answer is, like your honest answer, that's really like that's who you are, right? And so there's a part of my creating and creativity or creative process that is very selfish. Like it's about me. But then I also get enjoyment out of inviting other people into that process. And it makes me happy to see them happy, even though they're reacting to my work, and so it still kind of ties back to me. So some might say it's like selfish in some way, but I'm getting to share. It's a shared experience of enjoyment, which is, I think, a part of what life is supposed to be. Like, we are, as creatives, like, we're creating things that like other people get to share in, like other people get to also enjoy. And then now, if you're like zooming out from like, you know, like life or earth or whatever, and you're like looking down at like these people coming together and creating things where like other people are able to come in and enjoy that thing with them. And like with all the evil and suffering in the world, like that's a dope thing to put out into the world, right? And so for me, what I see creating as like taking a piece of myself and putting it into something to make something beautiful. I believe that I'm beautiful. Like, I believe that we're all beautiful as people, right? And so we're taking, so I believe in God, right? I'm not like super religious. I'm not going to walk up to you and smack you with a Bible. I just have my own personal faith, right? And I believe that like God is a big part of a lot of the things that I do, right? It's just my personal faith. I don't push that on other people though, you know, but so for me, it's like, I believe that like God made all of us beautiful as people, as human beings, right? And I believe that, you know, I take that beauty that's inside of me and I'm putting it into something. So for me, I'm not just a videographer, but videography is one of the avenues that I enjoy creating. It's the same thing with like real estate. As if I'm like, you know, flipping a property and I get to take my creative energy and pour it into this property to make something beautiful. Or I get to take my creativity and my business sense and I get to put it into a property or a strategy or a business plan to create a financial machine that can generate revenue. Whatever it is, I'm putting a part of myself into something to create something beautiful. And when I create that thing, I'm thinking about what emotion it's making me feel, like what experience I have. So if I use video, for example, or a house, you're walking through the house, like what emotions are you feeling as you watch this video? And it is tough if you show it to somebody and they're like, yeah, I don't really get like what you are doing here. And I think that for me, I've gotten that, you know, and it does suck a little bit, but at the same time, it's like not everybody is gonna be my audience.
That's true.
Not everybody is meant to share in this artwork with me. It's like when you go to an art gallery, some pictures or some creations you look at and you're just like,
you'll never get it,
in love with it. And then some, like what you said, you're just like, you keep walking. You're like, oh, okay, cool, and you keep walking. But you might be drawn to one particular piece or a couple particular pieces, and whatever that artist was portraying, you might not even be picking up the same thing that they're portraying, but whatever you are receiving, because you know, like it's how you are interacting with the art. And so it's not that you're trying to, like, you're let me explain it like this. I don't believe that art is trying to like coerce people's emotions. Like, I'm doing this thing to like force you to feel anger. It's like, no, you might create something and your intention is, and what you're creating it for is maybe surrounding a particular set of emotions. And then when someone experiences that, maybe they're drawn to it, but it is connecting the dot to something, an experience they had or something in their life that might make them feel a similar emotion. And it may be something completely different that you weren't even expecting them to feel.
For sure.
And when they come up and say, hey, I love your work, man, it really made me feel X, Y, and Z. And you might be like, wow, that's beautiful. I wasn't even expecting that. But that's cool that that was the connection that you came away with. And so I think that art is more so, it's like an invitation. And it's an opportunity for people to come in and connect with your art in their own unique way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, you articulated that very well. Like, how often do we pull up a song because we're feeling a certain way? All of it is tied to emotions.
Facts. Yeah.
We're very emotional beings. And whenever we can find something that is packaged in a way that you can understand and tap into a desired emotion, or an emotion that relates with what you are going through at the time, it can speak what you feel better than you can at the moment.
Yeah.
So if you're going through a breakup, you pull up that song
Right.
that speaks what you feel.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the words for it.
Yeah.
But you have something that makes you feel what you can't find the words for.
Yeah.
And we need artists to create those pieces
Yeah.
so that it provides that sort of value. And that's why for me, like, if I create something, it does start off selfish.
Yeah.
And the more that I think about the thing that I'm creating, it's because I want a desired emotion from it. And I want to express myself in a way that just feels authentic.
Sure. Yeah.
And but I also have to restrain myself. I've realized, like, back when I used to do a whole bunch of graphics, right? Like even creating this, right?
Yeah.
When I used to design websites, my brother was my business partner on one of our businesses, and he would tell me, do this, create it with this aesthetic, right? So then I'd start with that, and then that leads to another idea, and then I'd apply that idea, and then I'd add blue, and then white, and then green, and then this shape, and then that shape, and it's just like, it's a mess. And then his job was to strip it all down and say, bro, you went too far. You did too much. This is not going to be recognizable or pleasing, aesthetically pleasing to the client anymore, because you didn't restrain yourself in any way to keep it within a canvas that allows the emotion to be felt.
Sure.
Because now you've added so many different emotions and so many different ideas that there is no emotion. Not
interesting. Not
in a easy to digest way. Sure. You got to dig too much.
Yeah.
And that's not a product. that's just chaos.
Sure.
And that actually helped with creating the concept behind applying restraint. That's a big part of one of the concepts that I teach in my book. How do you apply certain restraints based on your personality type, so that you can actually get the message that you want out? You can actually get the emotion that you want felt. You can actually make the moves that you want to happen in a way that you desire. As opposed to just doing things and you're just on autopilot. I mean, we are all on autopilot, but sometimes you want to change a configuration. But you just don't know how.
Right.
And so it's great to speak with a fellow artist, because I know your struggles. But I also know the amazing feeling that you get when you create something.
Yeah, especially something that you can step back and feel like is beautiful. And something I wanted to quickly comment on, when you mentioned artists who create songs that people can listen to, and when they're going through like a tough time or a sad time, like a breakup, right? And what's interesting about that, it popped in my head, I didn't want to interrupt you at the time, is that you could have a song, right, that you made that is not sad at all, and it's not about hard life situations or nothing, right? It's a song, just a fun song, whatever, it's just not about that, right? And somebody could have gotten broken up with, the girlfriend breaks up with them, and they hop in the car, cut the radio on, and that was the song that was playing, right? And so now that person, because of that life experience, they now associate that song with the breakup. And whenever they want to think back about that girl or that partner or whatever it was, they play that song, and it reminds them of that experience. This is a random example, of course, but it's connecting it, because like, it's just that, like, art is like, people are so complex, and art is so like free, and like it's like it can't really be controlled. So once you create something you put out in the world, like you can't control how people experience
That's
it.
true.
You're a movie director, you can't control. You don't know what biases people are coming into that theater with to watch your movie. Like you know, like you just create your art and you put it out there, and the people who are meant to find that art and connect with it, hopefully will find it.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to create the opportunity for them to find it. So if you just, you know, create, you know, a beautiful canvas and you just like nail it on the corner of like a street corner that nobody really walks past, who's gonna see it? But you put it in an art gallery where thousands of people come every, you know what I mean? It's like give people the opportunity to experience your art. You know,
I love that message, and I feel like it's so much harder to implement.
yeah, it's tough.
So hard to implement.
It's tough. I mean, social
I'm
media, you can post
sensitive,
something,
yeah.
but like
I'm sensitive as an
the
artist.
algorithm, it's like, and then you don't want to post something that is near and dear to your heart. You don't want to just put it anywhere. You don't want to just put it on a street corner. You want to put it somewhere where the people who are going to be coming in at least have a chance to experience art. That's why, like, as a creative, as a media creative, you know, as a videographer, I don't always want to even put my videos on social media because I know that like it's just a place where they're gonna look at it for a couple seconds and just keep scrolling. And it's like it's something about that feels like you're just kind of taking your gold and just like throwing it like
to the pigs,
or putting it like if you are a chef and you make like exquisite like steaks and that's like your specialty, do you really want to just like go to McDonald's and throw it in the middle of a burger? Like, you know, it's like you want to serve it in such a way where people can fully experience like the quality of what you created and experience your skill. So maybe a better place is, you know, 5-star, you know, whatever, Michelin restaurant, or maybe a food tasting contest or one of those shows where these chefs compete, or somewhere people are actually going to be able to appreciate what you put into it. And so I've actually been thinking about that, and I'm not going to say any more because I have some ideas that I'll share with you offline.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But no, that's been a constant thing because I've been an artist for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna continue to be.
Yeah.
So that also means that the challenges that I have will continue, and I just have to understand ways to work with that.
Yeah.
And one of those challenges that I'm referring to is being afraid, basically what you were saying, being afraid of the feedback that someone that may or may not get it would have.
Yeah.
Because it's something that came from your core.
Yeah, man, from so deep within. Yeah.
That it'll hurt more.
Yeah.
Because it's so close to your heart.
And who you are.
If it's something that you didn't care about, you're just doing it just as an assignment, then who cares?
Right.
But where it's coming from, if the source is like deep, it's not just a video.
Yeah.
this more. It's not just a song.
Yeah.
It's not just a little artwork, painting or whatever. It's something more than that. This thing holds emotions that if you've expressed, and I think even though that pain might exist, it's still worth it to put it out. Because like you said, it's also painful to hide what your expression is in some wall that no one can ever see it.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like worth the risk of putting it out. And I think we often have trouble finding the people that align with what we want. But in order to get there, you got to put it out to everybody to kind of see.
Yeah.
And I think that's been tough. It'll continue to be tough. But when you go through the things that feel scary, next time you do it, it doesn't feel that as scary.
Sure.
For example, when I go on live on social media, man, there was a time when it was really, really, really tough for me to do it.
Yeah.
But as I do it more, it gets less tough.
Sure.
gets less scary.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just something about it. It's just, oh, they're gonna see me. But
Yeah.
what makes it better is, I remember I went on a live and then you jumped on,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
then like other people jumped on, and it when you have support from people who kind of, it doesn't even have to be support, but more so like they get it.
Mm-hmm.
They just get
Yeah.
it. They get you. You don't have to explain too much about like what you're doing.
Sure. Yeah.
You might a little bit, you will a little bit, but sometimes there's a lot of friction between, like, come on, I just want you to understand what I'm trying. Like, as an entrepreneur, like, don't you just, some people just won't get it. You're not going to convince them in this decade.
But when there's already some alignment there,
it's easier.
Or even seen. Like relatability, you know, like they've been. It's like when we invited you guys to, like, you know, come up to like the property, and like, you know, we're in a tough situation up there that we don't got to get into, but it's like you guys had been through a similar situation. So for us, it felt a little bit more like, okay, like I feel like my guard is down a bit, you know. I feel comfortable inviting them into this very vulnerable situation because I know we're not going to just face a bunch of judgment. They can understand, you know. And so even if you didn't experience the same exact thing, it's like if you've experienced a similar thing, there's understanding, there's relatability. It's
because like I see myself in you, and vice versa. That I'm not interested, because I love myself. I'm not interested in tearing down someone that reminds me of me, because you're going through something that I've went through.
Right.
I'm more motivated to empower you. They're completely different situation, but there's so many similarities within there that it wouldn't make sense for me to discourage. It only makes sense for me to be like, yo, if that was me, this is this is what I would do. And even if I'm not providing like insight on like what I think, sometimes it's good to just sit with it with somebody. You're like, man, this sucks. You know, but I ain't gonna judge you. Like, sometimes this thing sucks. You don't. But I would empower you to get through this thing.
Yeah. Sometimes that's what you need, though, man. Like, just to have a friend sit with you and like just validate the situation with you and be like, yeah, this is some trash, yo. This really sucks. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, man.
Find a community that you can sit with the challenges with and move forward and figure it out without that judgment. You know?
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
And I want to thank you for giving me a chance, because you were my first coaching client.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man.
You
helped me out a ton. So
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Now, it helped me out a lot as well, because anytime that you're doing something new, and I'm not seeing anyone else that's doing it the way that I'm doing it, you always have a sort of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
Right? And being able to have our coaching sessions, it validated something that I really wanted to be validated, because I'm seeing that, wow, he actually likes it. I mean, but not just likes it, but he's actually getting value.
Yeah.
And like, I'm asking you questions and you remembered what I said.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, whoa, there's something to this.
And I'm actually growing.
Yeah.
And learning and having epiphanies and like changing and like, you know, and mind you, it wasn't my first experience like with coaching, you know, and I think that it was just a journey for me to find the right style of coaching that I actually can respond well to. Because like I told my my wife, I was like, hey, like with different experience I've had in the past, I was like, hey, like I don't want to like go through a coaching experience and have to like go to counseling or something to sort through the trauma that I got from the coaching experience. This is like, what's the point of that? You know? So I think for me, it just aligned with with the approach and the style, it aligned with who I am as a person, you know, so I was in an environment where I was actually able to make progress,
Yeah.
because it was an environment that aligned with who I was. I could feel safe in that environment. I'm not distracted by other things going on with the coaching style or the whatever it is. It's like I could just I could lock in on the content and what we were talking about.
You can drop your guard a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that I that's what I strive for.
Yeah.
Because I'm not really interested in telling you what I think so much.
Mm-hmm.
I really believe that most of the answers that you search for, at the core, they're within you. And I just need to create an environment where you trust enough to speak it out loud.
Yeah.
So that whatever you are feeling in your heart, it can actually have the space to safely come out. And now you can hear yourself, and you might not be hearing yourself in the day-to-day hustle because you're protecting it.
Yeah.
You're protecting your dream. You're protecting your potential, your opportunities. You don't want people to tell you, you sure about that?
Like to shoot you down.
Yeah.
And discourage you.
And I'm telling you, I want to listen to you, and I want you to listen to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't, because I've been doing this before I was a coach. I felt like I was already a coach.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for so long that I've almost forgotten how I needed to be reminded of how it feels from the other end. And you've helped me to grow in that way, because after every session, you would tell me how it helped.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah.
So I think
the feedback loop.
It was amazing. So thank you. But I just have one ask. If you can help anyone who hasn't had an experience with coaching with me yet, how would you describe a typical coaching session?
Yeah. So I think for me, like, I knew that when I came to each session, that I knew that there would be some sort of structure to it. Like, it wasn't just it wasn't a free for all. There was structure to it, but there also was, like, if I came with something and say like something happened fresh like that week, it was like, all right, like, he would kind of make the judgment call on, okay, you know what, like, do you want to just like lock in on this? And I'd be like, yeah, let's just lock in on this, because like this is pertinent right now. This is like really important right now.
It could be a distraction.
Yeah. And like, and I think that one of the things that I loved is I actually came here to like the studio here, to the workshop. So what do you call this? What's the official name?
I call it the EntreMOTIV office.
All right. So I came to the EntreMOTIV office, right? And so like each of these like areas in this office has like a different like purpose, right? And we were back where the whiteboard is. What's the name of that?
Hustle station.
The hustle station. Where we're putting in work, right? And so this was like the groundwork that was laid for these, for us to start having like these sessions, right? And so, like, we did this like roadmap of like, it was like about me, right? And it was about like my goals and dreams and like strategy forward. And I forget the like the vision, like the forget what there was a name for it, but it was like the
So at the time it was something else. Now that was the groundwork for the intention map.
Okay.
We identified your vehicles.
Yeah.
It's basically a trip, because entrepreneurship is a journey.
Yeah.
It's like you're going on a trip. You need vehicles, which are your professional roles, destinations, somewhere you're going with that has an emotional element to it.
Sure.
And then you have a fleet, which is who are you going on that journey with?
Yeah.
And it's a bunch of other things.
But I really liked, like, one of the things that was the most helpful for me was like identifying all the roles that I was playing in my life. So like, I wear so many different hats in a day. Like, I'm a husband, I'm a father, but I also am a podcast host, the Contagious Thoughts podcast. You know what I mean?
Check it out.
Hey, check it out. I'm a podcast host, and I'm a videographer. I'm a creative. Like, I run a media company. I also have my title at my full-time job, my W-2 job.
You're an investor.
And I'm an investor. And that might be real estate. That might be, might be a company that I purchase, or it might be whatever it is. I'm an investor. And so it's like, okay, I had to understand that, like, at any given time in the day, I can't, even though I thought I was wearing all these hats at once, I really wasn't. Like I am, but like at any given time, I'm giving more energy to one of those things, or two of those things, or, so it's like, okay, how much energy am I giving to each of those things in a day? And there were some hats I was wearing at the time that I've since had to toss and get rid of, because it didn't properly align with like my ultimate goal, or they were ultimately like distractions, or it was like me taking on too much. And so it's like, it gave me a chance to see everything I was like trying to do in my life and all the hats I was wearing. And then it gave me a chance to say, you know what? I don't need to wear 15 hats. I want to wear like 7 tops. So like, what needs to go, or like what can get put on the back burner? So I think I appreciated like the groundwork that was laid, that went into, that kind of set the stage for us to have the coaching sessions. And so, each session, like we would like we would like end the session by like going back to like, okay, like we would go back to the same thing each time. And I remember that we'd be talking about like how, like what hat, or what like what role are you gonna be like focusing on today, and like how much of your energy is gonna be going to like these roles. And it's like, okay, what are the important tasks that you have today? Okay, how much of your energy or your bandwidth is that going to take up? And if you mapping out all this stuff, and it's like, all right, that's going to take like 70% of my bandwidth, that's going to take like 50% of my bandwidth.
It's
and
clear.
It's like, hey man, you at like 200%, but all you have is 100%. Like, you can't do more than what your max is. So what's going to give? Because when the day is over, one of these things is going to give, and I think that I just appreciated like there was like the high level, and then there was it boiled down to like the practical. And I think that for me, I don't like just talking about theories, and like I like to have the theories and have the roadmap, but then, okay, how does this actually get applied practically? How can I apply it like today, like right now? When I leave this session, how can I start applying this like right now? So that's what I appreciated. I don't know if I did a great job explaining everything.
No, you did. You did amazing.
I've been going through a lot of life in the last few months, so it's been a little bit, but yeah, for me, like that's the reason why like I kept on coming back. That's what it was for me.
Yeah, no, you've been a very, very important part of my journey.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
seriously,
as you were for me, man. Yeah. As you were and are.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
So let's stay connected, man.
Oh, you already know we will.
I know. I don't even have to say it.
You already know we will.
It just sounded cool. It just sounded cool to say, but I know we're gonna stay connected. But I want to give you an opportunity to just talk about a little bit about what is next for you.
Yeah.
And how can people find you?
Yeah, man. It's funny you say that, because my wife and I did this podcast episode. That was the title was "Be Yourself," so that the people looking for you can find you.
Yeah.
And so when you say like how can people find you, it's like, oh wow, this is an opportunity for people who are looking for us to find us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll start with that since I'm already on that. But people can find us on YouTube. If you type in the Contagious Thoughts Podcast. You can also go to thecontagiousthoughtspodcast.com. You can access all of our episodes and everything there. Check out the trailer. I actually work really hard on the trailer. It's actually pretty dope, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah.
and you can buy merch. Like what I have on right here. Actually, this is exclusive. You can't find a hat on there, but there are like 4 or 5 hats you can choose from on there. And all the new stuff is designed by yours truly. The original stuff designed by some very good friends of mine over at Mav. Shout out to Mav, Ricky, and Ethan. And same with IG at The Contagious Thoughts Podcast, TikTok, and just all the platforms. It's the same thing. It's The Contagious Thoughts Podcast. I'm not going to talk that much about the Sideline Creator because we haven't. We're doing some stuff behind the scenes and doing some private customer work right now, and we have a couple of things like you can check us out like the Sideline Creator on IG. I put a couple things up, but there's some big things coming with that.
I love it.
There's some launches coming with that. So just so you guys know, the podcast, we're in the off season right now. So we're not a weekly podcast. We're not a bi-weekly podcast. We drop seasons, like how Kendrick Lamar drops albums, right? He just drops projects, and then he'll disappear for a little while, and then he'll come out and drop another project. That's how we are with the podcast. So we have an off season. We work hard. We put a season together as like a project, like a piece of art, like a work of art, and then we drop it for the public to be able to experience. And so very soon, you guys will be seeing a season 2 trailer coming up later on this year. And then we'll drop season 2, which we already have most of it recorded, like about half of it recorded. Pekens is going to be on season 2 as well. Awesome. So, check us out. That's what you can find us. As far as like what's next, season 2 and we have some really exciting things coming as far as how we want to like fully launch the Sideline Creator, which is our media company, and kind of share it with the world. Like right now, a lot of our work is just it's private with clients who we get to go through the creative process with, but to be able to share some of that with the world and what we're doing with the world, I think that's going to be really fun to do. So I have some things that I have to focus on right now, like as you know, and so that's really what's immediately next is like us just trying to with one of our real estate investments, just fully getting that on the ground and getting that straight and buttoned up and taken care of, so that we can move on to focusing on some other things. So
I think I appreciate you mentioning that sort of aspect, because a lot of people don't show that sometimes you have to take a step back. You have to focus on other things because people are so focused on seeing the end result only. Like, oh, you just got to polished. This is the end result. But no, the journey is not straight. It's a winding road that tests you so that you can get to the place where people see that snapshot image that they're looking for on Instagram. And it's not that pretty.
And let me just say this too. So the whole premise of the Contagious Thoughts podcast is inspiring people to make their dreams a reality. We don't want people to go to the grave without experiencing their dreams, actually living and experiencing their dreams. And so that's the purpose of the podcast. And in the off season, that's exactly what we've been doing. We've been taking a dream that my wife and I have had for a long time, and we took some action on it, and we made it into a reality. And now we have to do our due diligence and get that properly taken care of before we just like jump and move on to something else, right? And we've been documenting everything. We've been recording everything, and we have a lot of content that's going to be coming out. Along with season 2, where the podcast is going to be kind of expanding to not just being a podcast, but actually showing us in action, achieving our dreams, pursuing our dreams, the highs and the lows, not just the final snapshot picture on IG, but what did it actually take to get there? What's the pain that people don't actually talk about? Like how does it impact your marriage? How does it impact your kids? Like, how does it impact your mental health? How does it impact your performance at your W-2 job? all this stuff that people are throwing at you on social media, like when you actually get down to it, like how it impacts your day to day, like your actual life, like it's real out here, man. Like you take these people's formulas and they're, oh, just sign up for this thing and then do this and then buy this property.
Easy.
And like it's easy. It's no big deal. Nah, this stuff like really impacts your life. These decisions can make or break you. Like it's real. And so we actually want to show the real behind the dream, the pursuit of the dream, the real life behind it, so people can relate who are going through the same things, but also people who want to pursue these things, like they can count the costs and be like, okay, let me have an actual realistic picture of what this looks like to pursue this dream or pursue that dream. It's not all like butterflies and rainbows. It's really not, you know? So we're not going to be selling lies out here. Like we're going to be explaining like, hey, this is what it's really like, you know? It's real out here. I'll tell you that.
I'm on the same boat.
Yeah.
Man. I'm on the same boat. And with me being someone that has struggled with ADHD, when you hear a lot of those messages about like, this is you only got to work 2 hours a week and you make $1 million starting month 2. And let me try it. What am I doing here? You know, you just start trying things. And
quit your job and then you go, now you can't pay your bills.
Yeah. And it's like, because I also take a lot of ownership in my journey. You know, that I'm not going to go out and blame the influencer for me making that decision.
Yeah. So you heard that and decided to do that.
That's on me.
Yeah, it's on you.
But also I know that because a lot of us, we do think that things are easier than they are. I don't want to promote that. I want to promote that that's what in reality, things are harder.
Yeah.
Things are hard. Entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah, facts.
And you might want something this year, but it might take you 5 years. And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah, that's real.
Because if you're doing the best that you can anyway with what you have, it might have taken one person a year because they have a different life, different responsibilities and roles and set of expertise, whatever, different background. And that's why the journey is really what matters, and just going through the ups and downs with the people that you love and finding a good community that gets it, that gets you, and then you keep moving.
Yeah.
And I want to show a authentic side.
Yeah.
And you're authentically yourself.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love that energy.
Yeah.
I don't gotta guess with you. This is who you are.
Yeah.
You are completely an artist. I love it. You're more than that, but that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you. You're talking about your the Contagious Thoughts podcast, and who designed I did this, you know what I mean? Because you gained so much enjoyment from that. Yeah. And that is who you are at your core. And I want to encourage and empower anyone else that sees themselves in Darwin to continue to keep pushing forward, keep moving. Know that life isn't that easy, you know that, but you can be intentional about what you want, and you can make intentional steps day by day, little by little, to gain some fulfillment. And if fulfillment for you is an artist like Darwin, among the other types, but I know we've been picking on the artists, but find different opportunities that align with that, so that you can keep gaining that fulfillment and keep moving forward in a way that motivates you. Find your motive. And Darwin, thank you for coming on.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
This has been great. I knew it'd be great.
Yeah, thanks y'all for watching, and thank you guys for. I know that every single person watching and listening has already hit the like button and already hit the subscribe button.
Man, he needs to come on every episode.
Already said a comment. So you already put a comment in there, even if it was just thank you. You already did it, so thank you guys as well.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. That's it.
Peace.